What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of Mic'd Up with Max Webster. Today we welcome on yet again another New York Giants content creator, a legend amongst Giants content creators, and someone I'm excited to have on this channel. So without further ado, let's welcome him on. Entertainah, how you doing, my guy?
Oh, sorry, I screwed up.
No worries.
No, man, I was excited, man. I've been watching a couple of these. Listened to the last one because I was eating as you were doing it, but I think there's a lot of fun. Matter of fact, this is something I might want to adopt on my channel every now and again. Have a different kind of YouTuber on and kind of have like a little Joe Rogan type vibe on the channel, man. But I love what you're doing here, man. And this, if I was gonna start a second channel, I'd probably have it something like this, where I'd get to talk about things other than sports, which is what I talk about all day on YouTube. But I think you got a great thing going here. I love what you're doing.
All right, perfect. I appreciate it, man. So for anybody who might be joining us to watch this episode or listen to it today, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about your channel? I mean, I've said you're a New York Giants content creator, but what else can people find there? Where can they find you, and what all do you cover?
Yeah, New York sports in general, obviously mainly the Giants. I would say about 90%, if not more, of what I cover is the Giants. That's my main, but I mix in a little Mets here and there and Knicks. But it's just talk about what I love, and that's New York sports. That's where you can find me, Entertainah Talking Sports. Sure, it's gonna be in the link below. But
yep,
looking forward to get to talk to you, get to know you a little bit better as well.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. All right, so we'll start off with where you're currently living, if you grew up there. And just kind of talk about geographically your experiences.
Yeah, I live in New York, Long Island. Grew up in Long Island, and I've lived in Brooklyn as well. But New York my entire life. I've never left the state. I probably will eventually, especially being that the main source of my income right now is on YouTube. Okay. And when you, it's not like I get locality pay. Like a police officer. You go from New York to Utah. Not that I'd live in Utah. You don't make nearly as much as a cop as a YouTuber. I'd make the same amount. So I love New York, and I wouldn't want to leave. I wouldn't want to move too far because, I want to do things like meetups. I want to be able to go to Giants games. I want to be able to grow my channel that way, my community that way. But I'll probably end up leaving the state, but still stay relatively close.
Okay, so a lot of people, because I'm originally from upstate New York, so when I joined the military and I'm talking to all these people, I go, I'm from New York. Immediately, the thought that pops in their head is New York City, because in other people's minds who aren't from this state, the only thing they think of when it comes to New York is New York City. So tell me I know Long Island isn't technically considered New York City, but tell me some positives and negatives from living on Long Island, and maybe some crazy memories since you've been there.
Long Island is, you're right. It's not the city, but it's pretty close.
Right.
It's a 45-minute train ride into Manhattan. You got a 20-minute car ride to Queens. It's as close to the city as you could be without living in one of the 5 boroughs. Right. I love it here, but it's expensive though. Long Island's really expensive, especially in Nassau County. Suffolk's a little more affordable because it's a little more further out, depending on where you live, which is the other county on Long Island. But yeah, I love it here. In terms of crazy stories, I could give you a couple of crazy stories. Growing up as a kid.
Let's hear it.
It's probably not the best impression people would get from me, but growing up as a kid. Oh man, this is a crazy story. Whatever, I'll tell it.
All right.
When I was me and my friends we were 16, probably 17 at the time. I was an idiot, and we came up with the brilliant idea. I used to work at and this is the types of things you do when you live on Long Island because you're bored. It's not like Manhattan where there's stuff to do at all times. I used to work at a mall, movie theater. It was my first job for 3 years. And one night, one of my friends came up with a brilliant idea. There was a parking garage at the movie theater, at the mall. It was in a mall, a movie theater.
Uh-huh.
And came up with the brilliant idea of filling up water balloons and going to the top of the parking garage and dropping them on people as they were leaving the mall. And lo and behold, we did that for a while. And then my friend, I was driving, and we had a couple of extra water balloons, and he was an idiot. We drove by a convertible, and he took one of the water balloons and he threw it, and the top was down, so it exploded in the guy's car. So I go speeding off because I'm like, what the hell did you just do? I go speeding off, and I thought we're good to go. I thought, like 10 minutes go by. All of a sudden, I see a car, in my rearview mirror, just going in and out of traffic. I'm like, oh my god, that's the convertible. And the guy catches up to us, and
Oh no.
he's going like 100 miles an hour, and I start speeding up because I'm like, this guy's gonna kill us. Like this
Right.
guy's crazy.
Yeah.
So we start running through all these red lights. I'm not even looking. Like I'm scared for my life. I'm not even looking. And we go down for about 15 minutes. We're in like a high-speed chase. It's like late at night. It's like 11 o'clock, so there's not a ton of cars on the road.
Mhm.
And I try like almost like a something that you would see in a movie almost from
Like
what's
Fast and
this?
the Furious.
Fast
or...
and Furious, yeah. So there's like a divider, but the divider has like a curb. Like it's not like you know what I'm saying. It's not like
Yeah.
it doesn't go. It's like one of those. It's almost like a little bit of a speed bump type
It's got like
thing.
a 3 or 4 inch type curb thing in the middle.
Yeah, but there's no bump because it's like a grad. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I got you.
So I slow down a little bit because if I slow down a lot, this guy's literally gonna ram into the back of my car. And I try to spin around because I see no traffic going this way. I spin around the divider to try to lose the guy, and I go over, and the car kind of spins a little bit, but we're okay. It stops. He goes over the divider. Same thing happens to him. He gets out of the car with a baseball bat or
Oh,
a hockey
no.
with a hockey stick, and
Jesus.
he starts approaching the car. And then right as he gets out of the car with the hockey stick, my friend takes a water balloon, and this is a guy that's already furious at us. My friend takes a water balloon and he throws it at him.
Oh
And
no.
all of a sudden, we see a cop car coming down the same side. He saw all this happen. This guy saw us both go over the divider. He sees this guy come out of the car with a hockey stick, and he sees my friend throw a water balloon at him. And he pulls up right as my friend threw the water balloon, and he slows down his car, and he's still rolling, and he looks at both of us, and he keeps going. and at that point, I'm like, either that guy is trying to get home, and he doesn't want to have to deal with this because it's the end of his shift, or he just doesn't care about his job. Because at that point, I was almost hoping he got out of his car because I thought this guy was going to try to kill us, even though we probably would have gotten in trouble. So we get back in our car, we go speeding off. He keeps chasing us. We're going all throughout Long Island. This is literally went for like an hour of us going through all these red lights. This was before they had the cameras. Like now I don't know where you live. Now they have cameras, so I would have gotten 100 tickets. They didn't have that then. This is like 17 years ago. So we're going through all the red lights, and then finally, we think we lose him. I tuck into like this condominium complex, and I just park my car. I hope the story's not going too long.
No. This is what this channel is all about, man. It's your story.
I park my car and we just sit there for about 20 minutes in this condominium complex. It's all dark. I'm like, all right, we're good. Pull out, go back up on a main road, and we come to a red light, and we're going this way. And then I see out of the corner of my eye, a guy open up his car door, and it's him. And he takes his hockey stick and he starts smashing my window.
Oh no.
Luckily nothing broke, and we got away. I never saw the guy again. But a quick follow-up to that story.
Now you were how old here? Approximately?
17, 18. Yeah, I'm 35 now. But
Yeah.
A quick follow-up to that story. About a week goes by. So this is still in my brain, that I'm still paranoid. If anything happens, that maybe this guy's tailing me or whatever. And I worked at the movie theater, and I used to have a crush on a girl, and I would drive her home. She drive her back to school. She was away at college at the time, but she worked at the movie theater with me.
Okay.
And I drove her back. My two friends who were in the car with me tailed me there. I didn't know. They followed me there. Okay? So I pull out of the college, and I still don't notice. I go because it's a good half-hour drive from her college back to my house. So I start going, and about 10 minutes back towards home, I start to notice a car's following me. But it was my friend's mom's car, so I didn't recognize the car. So I'm trying to lose it in traffic, and he keeps following me. He keeps following me. And we finally get back to my house, where, I start to turn off the main road to go to the block towards my house. And I go in circles. I'm speeding to try to lose this guy because I'm scared for my life. I'm like, is this guy in another car? I don't know. Eventually, I lose him. I get into my house. Within 5 minutes of me getting back home, I lose all the power to my house. And in my head, I'm
Oh
like
no.
paranoid. I'm like,
Oh no.
I'm like, is this guy trying to kill me? And it was just coincidence. And then it turned out
Oh, okay.
they told me 2 years later that it was them. I didn't even know until 2 years after the fact that it was them that did that to try to scare the hell out of me. But the power going
Oh
out was just a
wow.
coincidence. It was just a coincidence to add to the story. It just happened, but I was freaking out. Yeah.
That is crazy, man. That's definitely a crazy story. I don't have anything crazy like that. The only like crazy driving story I got is when I was stationed in Arkansas for my first base after I finished my basic training and tech school and all that. We got there, and I'd been there for probably about a year and a half at this point. And so I went and bought a car, a second car, so that I didn't have to take the only vehicle, and my wife could still leave the house during the day or whatever, because that's kind of what we did for a little bit. And I went and got myself a fun vehicle for myself. I don't know if many people who watch or listen to this are gonna know much about my car, but I got a 2011 Hyundai Genesis Coupe. It's a 2-liter turbo engine. And so at this point, it was mostly stock, just kind of some bolt-ons. I got an intake and exhaust, just some small stuff. And my boss, he's got some housework going on. Well, before I joined the military, I was an electrician, so I went over there and I was helping him do some stuff, and he forgot some stuff, so we went to go pick it up at Lowe's. So he hops in my car. We go drive to Lowe's, and when we leave the Lowe's parking lot, so you take a left out of this Lowe's parking lot, and it's like a 90-degree left turn. And then from that left turn, it's got like a bend to the right that goes underneath this bridge, and then we turned left to jump on the highway. But we get in the car, and he was basically talking about how he wanted to see what the car was all about, because, I mean, it's not nothing crazy. It's just a fun little car, And
Yeah.
so we pull out of the parking lot, or we pull up, and I'm like, "Are you ready?" And he said, "Yep." So I turn off traction control. And this man thought I was just going to turn left and hit it. Well, my car's a rear-wheel drive car. So when I turned left out of that parking lot, I hit it when I was turning left. We were facing Lowe's at this point, sliding down the road. We went a little bit too far for my liking, so I whipped it back the other way, and I ended up following that bend, sliding the other way. Just went under this bridge and then hopped on the highway, but he was like freaking out the whole time, holding onto the handle. So that's my crazy driving story. But I
That's a
grew
nice
up.
car.
Yeah,
I
I
like the
grew up.
Genesis.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It's my baby right now, but the goal is, now that I'm back in New York, because I just live in Arizona, the only crazy weather we get there is dust storms, heat, and monsoons. Can't really do too much to a car. The salt on the roads here, though, they're going to kill my car. So my plan is next winter, I want to have another vehicle, so that can just be my summer vehicle. It'll sit in the garage, and I can tinker with it in the winter for sure. But
You get SUV.
what's that?
I said, what are you gonna get? An SUV?
We got a
car more
SUV for my
equipped
wife
the
now.
Okay.
She drives a 2014 Chevy Traverse, and I'll probably just get like a small truck for myself, something not too expensive. I just need it to get me through the winters, right? So I don't need anything too crazy or of that sorts. But yeah, if it can just do the job in the wintertime, then that's all I'll need it to be. But you got any recommendations out there?
I've never been a big truck guy, but obviously, like where you're living, you're upstate, right? So
Yeah, right now I'm in the Syracuse area.
okay. You would think that you would want something equipped to deal with the snow. Rear wheel drive isn't ideal. I
Yeah.
got a Challenger myself. I'm looking to get rid of it. It's horrible in the snow.
Well, if you move, you might want to think
I
about
got a
keeping it.
2010. Yeah, either way, I want to get rid of it. It's bad on gas, and I love the car, but I want to get a more practical car.
Okay. Yeah. What do you got in mind for your next car? What are you thinking?
I don't know, man. I haven't really given it a ton of thought, but probably a Honda or a Toyota. I mean, they last a long time. They're good on gas. Yeah, so nothing crazy. When I was younger, I wanted to get that Challenger. I was like, that's sick. I love the car.
Right.
But I know it's a huge downgrade, but I don't need that flashy car anymore.
Now, how about you? You don't have a girlfriend or wife or kids or any of that. You're just kind of living your single life, enjoying you, doing what Tana wants all the time.
That's I say it all the time, but once this pandemic is over, that's my biggest goal off of YouTube, is to try to find someone to potentially, hopefully, settle down with and start dating more seriously. I've been into real long-term relationships before. I was in a 5-year when I was younger, from 21 to 26, and then I was in another 4-year from about 27, about almost till 31 years old, and then I've been single since for the last 4 years or so. But I that was a big reason why I started this channel, my channel rather, about 3 years ago, because I was trying to get my mind off of her. I was trying to do things, as a hobby, just for fun, to get my mind off things. So that was probably the major reason why I started my YouTube channel to begin with. So even though it was it was heartbreaking. I was in love, and yada yada yada. Things didn't work out. I would have never had a YouTube channel had that not happened.
Well, you read my mind, because that was going to be my next transition, was to why did you start your YouTube channel? But instead of that, I want to congratulate you on your new sponsorship, Faruqi and Faruqi Law Firm, correct?
Thank you.
How did that all come about? I know you've told the story to me, but like I said, this is going to be for anybody who comes across this channel that might not know you yet. So how did your sponsorship come about?
Yeah, they've been he's watched my channel for a while, and he reached out to me via email. And I don't even check my email that much. Every once in a blue moon I'll go on there, and it just so happens I checked it when he sent me the email. And I've gotten a number of offers before, and most of the time it's like pay per download, or it's somebody who doesn't really connect with the channel. I've sat down and talked with people before, and I didn't really feel any connection. With them, I did. He talked about the channel. He talked about how he's a huge Giants fan, how he loved what I was doing. And the one thing that he kept hitting home with was, he's like, we're a small law firm. We want to try to connect with people on the same way you do. And he's got a partner too, who's a female who doesn't really watch sports, but she even watched me just to, see if it was a good idea to whatever. And she's like, yeah, the connection you have with your community is incredible. We watched you for a couple of months. People would pop in. You would know what was going on in their everyday lives. And like, we were impressed with that. And they wanted to kind of piggyback off that and try to bring that to their law firm. So that's why they were interested. And I liked hearing that. I was like, okay. I'm like, there's a connection there. The community I'm building, they want to be a part of it. So I was thrilled when they reached out to me. And obviously that's a huge step for my channel. Especially when you're trying to do this full time,
right?
To be able to get any kind of revenue off of YouTube, to be able to create that from the platform that I've built, right, is huge. So
absolutely.
That was a big goal. That was my biggest goal this upcoming year, was to get a legitimate sponsor. And I wasn't even really looking. I was just hoping they'd come to me and something would click. And thankfully, that's what happened. And I've always believed in the old adage, work smart, not hard. Even though I work hard, you want to be able to get, if you could find ways to create revenue off your platform and further give me a real opportunity to do this full time and do something that I love to do, things like that go a long way. So I'm really excited about the partnership and what they could bring to the channel. Things like meetups they've talked about, sponsoring tailgates and sponsoring bar meetups. And you're a member of my channel. You might have heard it in the member stream. We just talked today, actually. We had a meeting at 2 o'clock. And he said that, we're going to give away a signed Eli Manning football next month,
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
We're going to be doing things like that once a month. So it just adds a lot to the community. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm sure the community is stoked too. I mean, it sounds like it's great for everybody. It's great for your viewers and supporters. It's great for you because of the revenue purpose, and it's great for this law firm. They get to reach a whole new audience that's much larger than just people who are looking for a lawyer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it sounds like a win-win all around, and it sounds like a great gig. I'm glad you found it, and I'm glad it's what you hoped it would be so far. But besides YouTube. So you said YouTube is your primary source of income right now?
Yeah, well, I was a cable technician for 7 years. I worked on the island for 5 years, and then so basically you're not from Long Island, so you ever heard of the company Optimum?
No, we have like Spectrum around here.
Okay, well, that's who I worked for second, but I worked for Optimum, which was the they're basically the monopoly of cable companies on Long Island. You also, of
Okay.
course, had FiOS
Yeah,
after
and
the
we
fact.
had Time Warner Cable before Spectrum.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if you
Spectrum
had
bought
them
them
out
out.
there. Yep.
Yeah. But I worked for Optimum for 5 years, and then they got bought out. James Dolan, who is the owner of the Knicks and the Rangers, he was the owner of Optimum. That's actually
Oh
how he
wow.
became rich and how he bought the Rangers and the Knicks. But he ended up selling the company when I had been working there for about 4 years. He owned the company's entire life. His dad first passed it down to him, and they were actually the first. To my understanding, I'm pretty sure they were the first cable company in America, Optimum. They weren't initially called Optimum; they were called Cablevision. Then they
Okay.
rebranded to Optimum. But regardless, he had that family had owned it from the beginning. You know, you're talking about going all the way back to the late '70s or whenever, and
Right.
when they were knocking on people's doors, and they ended up selling. And I loved working there. It was a great company to work for. I loved it. You know, we got a lot of paid vacation, blah 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 blah. And then they sold it to a French company called Altice. And then what happened was Altice came in and basically they treated us like contractors. They expected us to do double the amount of work in half the time. They took away some of our vacation, and I got fed up with it. So,
Yeah.
so after about a year working for them, I was like, this is horrible. So I did what a lot of cable technicians did, at least for a temporary fix, was I went over to Spectrum, which was in Queens. So the commute sucked. In Brooklyn, rather. Well, no, it was in Queens, but on the border of Brooklyn. So I moved to Brooklyn. I got an apartment in Brooklyn, which is where I was when I first started my channel. That's why I moved there, because of the job. And I worked there for 2 years, and I started my YouTube channel about, I would say, maybe 6 or 8 months into me working at Spectrum.
Okay.
And about a year goes by, and I start to see my YouTube channel growing, and I start to say to myself, I love doing this. I hate my job at this point because now I'm working. My shift sucks. I mean, I'm working Tuesday to Saturday, and I'm working from 1:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. So I'm not getting home till 10:30. I'm out in the freezing cold, going up in these really these apartment buildings, these sketchy places, and I'm just like, I see this growing. I want to try to pursue my dream.
Right.
So I left the job, got a part-time job, delivering chicken, just to try to make a little extra money as I was trying to grow up my YouTube channel. And then the pandemic hits. So that stops. You know, the part-time job stops, and I put even more focus on the YouTube channel. But let's put it this way: I'm not going to get into everything that I made on YouTube last year.
Right.
I made more money on YouTube than I ever did as a cable technician last year.
That's awesome, man.
And,
That is
and I'm
awesome.
hoping that it continues to grow and build. And I love doing what I'm doing. It's risky, you know. You don't get benefits. You don't. You got to pay for that on your own and all that stuff. But I'd rather try to do something that I love to do and keep building up the community. And if it doesn't work out, I got a college degree. I could always go back and get something else. But right now, I'm trying to do this full time.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a great goal, dude. I'm glad that YouTube is taking off for you. But we'll kind of segue that because I have a tradition where although we talk about you, we do want to cover the New York Giants a little bit on here.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk a little bit of Giants football. I know I came on your member stream the other night, and we were talking offensive line. And so I guess we'll kind of pick up the talk there. A lot of people, especially even after this Jets center signing, are wanting to move Gates, man, and I'm just not for it. I can't see a reason to do it. The man played as well as you could have expected or hoped for a first-year center in a brand new offense. And so although there might be better centers out there, I just think there's way too much negative to move him when he's performing where he's at. Like, why mess with something that's not broken?
Yeah, you brought up some great points during our discussion on my member stream where, something that I always express mainly on the offensive line, but the football team in general is continuity, keeping this together, and letting these guys learn to grow as a unit, whether it be the offensive line, whether it be the defense. You want to try to keep this intact as much as you can. It's a young team. You want them to grow up, and if you keep making drastic changes, well, then you kind of got to start over, especially on an offensive line more so than anywhere else. That's a unit, I go back to the great offensive lines with the Super Bowl team in 2007 and then 2008 the following year. They weren't great at first. People forget that. Like, they
Right.
grew up together. That took years of playing with one another. Obviously, they brought in McKenzie. They brought in, a couple pieces here and there. But overall, for the most part, those guys played together for years before they really hit their stride. And you brought up a great point, not to mention Daniel Jones is accustomed to taking snaps from Nick Gates. And it kind of took them 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks for them to get their chemistry doing that. That's a big part of it. So I'm kind of with you. I'm not going to cry if they draft Creed Humphreys, and because that is one of Gates' strengths. He is versatile. You can move him to a guard, you can move him to tackle. But the way Gates played, I'm with you, man. Ideally, I'd like Gates to continue to build and keep him there at that center spot. And like I told you, I'd keep Zeitler. I would find a way maybe to extend him and maybe so it take less of a cap hit this year to give yourself more maneuverability. But I think I'd keep Zeitler on the team. And I guess, you go with either Lemieux or Hernandez at the other spot. Obviously, Thomas. And then on the right side, either you start to bring in Parrott or maybe you bring in a swing tackle that could compete with him. But I want to keep this. I want to let these guys grow together. You want to keep it together.
Yeah, I guess that'll kind of segue into the next question. I was going to ask you right now, because, we haven't seen free agency yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the draft. We don't know who the Giants are going to sign after the draft as undrafted free agents or other prospects that might still be available come that time. But as of right now, we don't have Cam Fleming under contract anymore. He's a free agent technically.
Yeah.
Nate Solder, we all see him getting cut. And Andrew Thomas is clearly your left tackle. So if all we did was bring in tackle depth, are you comfortable with at least starting the year as a right tackle for, we'll say, minimum the first 6 games just to see what he's got?
It's a great question. I can't confidently say I'm comfortable yet. But it's impossible to be completely comfortable with a football team. There's always going to be loose ends, especially in the salary cap era. And you got to find out what you got. If you feel like he's the long-term answer, which maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if they do, you got to throw him out there eventually. You got to give him a real opportunity. And he did look good at certain times last year. He also looked lost against Arizona. So I have no problem. If they feel that he's the guy long-term, get him out there. Start to develop him. I personally would not be opposed to drafting another tackle earlier in this year's draft.
Right.
If there's a guy you liked in the second round, or if you want Parrott to be the guy, it may be a good idea to draft a guy like a guy like Cam Fleming, a guy with some experience who's kind of cost effective. That if Parrott does struggle, you could throw him in there at least to get by for the season.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people talk about Cam Fleming, and I'm totally for bringing him back if we can get him on a deal like we had this year. But a good point a lot of people bring up is this man, as much crap as we as Giants fan gave him, he didn't play bad. He played good. He played better than we could have ever hoped or expected. So this man might come in with only 1 year tied to the New York Giants going, hey, look, I performed better and did more than you initially wanted me to. So, you paid me $4 million last year. So what are we talking coming into this year? Because I think I earned more than that. And that's where I kind of start to lose some interest on Cam Fleming. I definitely don't want to pay the man like crazy amounts of money, especially when the cap's lower and we got money to put elsewhere. But I guess what I'm kind of gathering from what you're saying here is you kind of view that right tackle position similar to the situation where we're at with cornerback 2. We have players who can plug in there, but are they going to be the best? Maybe not. And to bring in competition at those positions might not be a bad idea. Is that a fair comparison? You think right tackle is similar to our cornerback 2 position?
No, I completely agree. And that's not to say that Parrott can't develop into a great tackle, but we don't know yet. He's an unknown. Right. And there's a reason he went 100 or 99th overall in the draft. There's a reason. The reason is he's a project. So generally projects take some time to develop. And in a year where you want Daniel Jones to get it going as quickly as possible, maybe you do want to bring in a guy with more credentials that at least could start the year. And if he struggles, maybe you put in Parrott or vice versa. So. Right. Depth is never a problem for me on the offensive line, and that's one area where I think you're always consistently trying to improve, and just keep building. If I was a GM, I'd be drafting an offensive lineman in every draft. Right. Maybe not necessarily in the first round, but I would always be trying to recycle that offensive line. It's what the best teams do.
So say we get to number 11 in the draft. The 3 wide receivers, Kyle Pitts, are off the board. I don't feel like reaching for Rashad Bateman at 11 would be the right move. That's just my personal opinion. So with right tackle and cornerback two kind of being in the same situation, in your opinion, who would you be taking? Would you go after like a Rashawn Slater if he's still there to solidify your line? Or do you think that cornerback two, like taking a Surtain or Farley, would be a better pick in that scenario?
That's a great question. It's a great question because I know Giants fans are scared to take the corner because we never have luck with first round cornerbacks. Not to mention, if you draft a corner, more than likely there's going to be a transition phase. I mean, that's a tough position. Much like quarterback, it's the same thing with corner. You look at this past year, Jeff Okudah, near flawless prospect. The guy sucked his rookie year.
Right.
That's not to say he can't become great. He probably will. There's a reason he was as highly thought of as he was.
Yeah, he went third to the Lions, right? Yeah, he was picked before Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, and he was an incredible prospect. The guy didn't commit a single penalty his senior year or junior, whatever it was, at Ohio State. So I'd probably lean tackle because I think it's, here's what I'll say, and it's hard to predict this before the draft.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do in free agency. If I was the GM at this point in time, and I'm a big corner guy, I think that's our biggest need on defense personally. Whether maybe they feel like Love's the guy, and if they do, well, let's see what we got. But we definitely need stronger cornerback play this year on the opposite side of Bradbury. But if I was the GM looking at the market, I think that there's pretty affordable, serviceable cornerbacks that you could bring in free agency to kind of plug that hole.
Okay.
To kind of make sure that you try to help Jones as much as you can this year on the offensive side of the football in the draft.
Right. Yeah, and I was watching the Hub stream last night, and Joel hopped up in there, and he was trying to get the watchers going, saying some crazy things. But he came in there basically saying that Dak Prescott, of the last 16 games, playing teams over 500, he's 5-11. Is that good enough in your eyes as a starting quarterback? Are you going to pay that guy? And then he went on to talk about how Daniel Jones is not nearly as bad as people think, which I just don't know yet, right? That's what this year is about for me, is figuring it out. But that was just a crazy stat that blew my mind with Dak Prescott. I know we're not Cowboys people, but I thought it was wild that he's 5-11 against above 500 teams in his last 16 games, and there's people who want the Dallas Cowboys to pay this man, and I know it's not all on Dak, but some of those games had to be the games that New York Giants are crying for Daniel Jones to have, like last-minute comebacks or like a 2-minute drive to win the game. Like, there had to be scenarios where Dak was put in those positions and he didn't win it, right? I'm not saying all 11 losses are on him, but some of them definitely have to be. That's just how it is.
You look at Dak over the last 2 years specifically, and that's a good stat, by the way. But the last 2 years specifically, he got hurt during the Giants game. When did we play them? Week 5. So going in, they were 1-3 into that game,
and they should have been 0-4 because that Atlanta game was
Atlanta game. And they were 8-8 the year before that when they had super high expectations. So, I mean, you look at Dak, like you said, they should have been 0-4 going into that game. They were trailing, I think, when he got hurt against us, if I'm not mistaken. So, he could easily have been 0-5 to start the year. Matter of fact, should have been. They called back 2 touchdowns on us in that game. And he went 8-8 the year before, in a year in which a lot of people had them pegged to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFC. So, and you want to talk about a guy that's had more help than anybody. I mean, look at the wide receivers this guy has to throw to. Look at his running back. Look at his offensive line. Not so much now, but over the course of the majority of his career, his offensive line starting to deteriorate a little bit. But if I'm the Cowboys, I probably tag him, and I think after that I let him go or I trade him. It's not that Dak's not a good quarterback. He is, but I don't think he's one of those quarterbacks that you could pay $40 million and still maintain a great roster. And that's not a knock on Dak. Daniel Jones probably isn't that guy right now. He's not even close. So
I ain't paying him $40 million. That's for sure.
Yeah, those quarterbacks are few and far between. So, and I understand where Dak's coming from. He's put up numbers, but a lot of those numbers probably come in garbage time. I mean, you see how bad of a defense they had the last couple of years. You're playing catch-up ball. So, I don't know. I think Dak is a borderline top 10 quarterback, but I just don't think he's worth the money. I don't think. I hope they pay him because I don't think they'll be able to field a good roster if they do.
Absolutely. But we'll get back to the New York Giants a little bit. The other big topic of this offseason currently, until we get to the draft anyways, is Leo and Dalvin. Now, I saw your video that you made today, but some people listening to this might not have, and for the people who haven't seen your channel yet and they might be here, let's talk about it a little bit. So you made a poll on Twitter where your followers could vote if the Giants bring back just Leo, just Dalvin, or both. Do you remember the results from that? It was something crazy like, 89% thought Leo would be back in one capacity or another, and then it was like 40-something% thought Dalvin would be back in some capacity or another.
Yeah, I think you had three options. You had both, you had just Leo, and then you had just Dalvin. Both got about 47 or 48%. Leo was second, a near second, with about 42%, and then Dalvin was
something like 11%,
10 or 11%. So Leo, if you combine both and solo, you're talking 90%.
Right.
People think he'll be back, and Dalvin was about 55% when you combine the two.
Well, and I think even from the previous people I've had on this channel, being Bobby from Talking Giants and Diggy, we talked about a little bit last week. Bobby was saying if Leonard Williams doesn't come back, that's going to be like his one release from the team, or like letting walk on free agency, that would just shock the heck out of him, because Dave Gettleman just has so much invested at this point. Like, people say Leonard Williams has all the power in this deal, and that's the truth. I mean, it is. Leonard Williams has the power in this deal, especially after a year like this.
Yeah, and then the other thing, I don't just think about that, but you're right about that, because we traded for the guy. And this is not a knock on Dalvin Tomlinson. I thought it going into last year that Leonard Williams fit the scheme much better. As a matter of fact, I didn't think Dalvin Tomlinson was a great fit for the scheme because he doesn't have versatility. He's a guy that he's great at what he does, and he's a really good player. But if I was Joe Judge and Patrick Graham, you're talking about you want guys to do multiple things. What did you do? You drafted Darnay Holmes. That's a guy that could do some different things on the football field. Xavier McKinney, same thing, right? You traded for Jabril Peppers, same thing. He's very versatile. You want guys that could do different things. Well, that's what Leonard Williams does. Leonard Williams, you can put him on the inside. You can put him on the out. You can play 4-3 and 3-4 end. You can do so many different things with Leonard Williams. Same thing for Carter. That's why Lorenzo Carter was getting so many snaps at the beginning of the year before he got hurt, and Marcus Golden wasn't, and O'Shane Ximines wasn't, because they want those players that could do different things. So just that alone, I think about that and I say to myself, Leonard Williams is definitely a guy that if I was Judge, I'd want over Dalvin Tomlinson, because he's just so much more versatile. Not to mention, you could get, and I'm not trying to knock Dalvin Tomlinson, I think he's terrific. It is much more likely you could find a guy to do what Dalvin Tomlinson does in the third round of a draft than you can Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams.
Well, and I'm not totally opposed to the idea, because I feel like last year, the two guys we always saw on the defensive line without fail were Leo and Dalvin. I mean, they were out there for the most snaps. So I'm not opposed to involving Dexter Lawrence a little bit more in this will be his third season coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not opposed to plugging him in a little bit more if they have to let Dalvin walk, and maybe even let BJ Hill get in a couple of reps. He's not terrible. Is he a Dalvin? No. Dexter Lawrence might be. I personally don't feel like I've seen enough of Dexter Lawrence still, and it's about to be his third year. You know what I mean? Like, he could fill that hole that's left by Dalvin, in my opinion. But I think Judge, a lot of people talk about Judge having say in the draft and prospect that he wants, but I think that's going to be true for free agency as well, and not only for the people we acquire, but for the people we retain. And I think it's going to come down to not just Dave Gettleman's opinion, but they're going to give Pat Graham and Joe Judge some say on which defensive lineman they pursue, like actually pursue, not just talk to, but don't let this person walk because we need him next year type of.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, and I would be shocked. I don't know if shock's the right word, but I'm very surprised if by March 9th, if we don't have a deal done with Leonard Williams, he's not franchise tag, because there's no reason not to do it. even if you plan on letting him go, you tag him, you trade him. And if you tag him, it gives you more time to try to work out a long-term contract extension as well.
Right.
I don't see the Giants letting Leonard Williams hit the open market, because a tag is basically his market value anyway. It's $19 million to tag him. That's what he's going to be wanting on a multi-year deal. So
Right.
What's the harm in it? If you're the Giants of tagging him, I don't see the harm in it. I would do it.
Now I got two more just quick questions, and then we'll transition back into a little bit about Entertainah, some stories about when you were younger or important things in your life. But do you think tagging Leonard Williams for a second year causes the man to hold out? Because, I mean, he's not old yet, but he is looking for that long-term deal. And I mean, he played on it for the first year, but I don't know that he'd want to play on it a second year. So I could totally see, if we tag the man, him holding out for sure.
I completely could understand that perspective for sure. The one thing that could be in his favor, and maybe he'll think of it this way, the market is going down. It's not going up. So
Right.
if he does what he did this year, next year, if he feels he could, he would get like $25 million a year when the market accelerates. If he did that 2 years straight. So he may look at it like, listen, I don't mind playing on a franchise tag again. I'm going to get $19 million a year fully guaranteed. If I get hurt, I still get that $19 million. And if I perform well again in a scheme that fits me very well, I'm going to get the bag anyway. I'm going to get my 4-year deal, $23-24 million a year when the market goes up. And I'll
Right.
test free agency then. So I could see his agent saying that to him. Say, listen, with the decrease in the market, there's not going to be nearly as many people that could potentially pay you what we feel like you're worth because of the decreased market and people don't have a lot of cap. Maybe it is worth it for you to play that franchise tag and not work out a long-term deal, for $18 million a year on a 4-year contract. Because if you bowl out this year, you're going to get 22, 23, 24 on a 4-year deal. So it's a cat and mouse game. I could see Leonard Williams actually feeling like it's in his favor to take $19.5 million on a fully guaranteed franchise tag this year because of the decreased market.
Right. I mean, I guess that's true. I didn't really look at it that way, but you just see a lot of times players get frustrated with the franchise tag.
Yeah.
And even Dak, when he got franchise tag, he was frustrated. And I remember hearing it on a radio show where people were talking about there was some other quarterback that hit Dak up who spent a lot of time on the tag. I think it was Kirk Cousins.
I was going to say probably Cousins.
Yeah. And basically said, look, man, like, this could go 100% like in your favor. Like, don't be upset at the franchise
Cousins
tag.
worked it perfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he may view it that way, and if the Giants choose to franchise tag him, I hope you're right, because the last thing we need is to be paying this man $19 million for him not to show up.
Yeah, well, here's my thought process on it. I want to get a deal done before March 9th if I'm the Giants. I want to sign this guy to a 3 or 4 year deal, lock it up. I don't want to deal with it. But I also don't even want to risk him hitting the open market and that price skyrocketing. So at that point, I would go to Leonard. I'd say, listen, we're going to continue to negotiate, but we're going to tag you because we want to make sure you're with the New York Giants. And if he displays that he's upset, I trade him. If he says I'm threatening to hold out and I'm not going to be willing to negotiate with you guys, I'll tag and trade him. I'll get my 2nd round pick. I'll bring back Dalvin Tomlinson, and at least I get draft capital for Leonard Williams.
Now, how does that work? If we tag him and then trade him, are we still paying him that $19 million?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that worked. But the last New York Giants question I have before we move on, I feel like it's a topic nobody's really talking about. The 3 main needs that I hear everybody screaming is weapons for Daniel Jones, a cornerback 2, and the third being edge, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have edge guys, but they get hurt, like they can't stay on the field. So that's something a lot of people aren't talking about. People like Lorenzo Carter, people like O'Shane Ximines, right? What are your expectations for them as a New York Giants fan after at least Lorenzo Carter's like torn Achilles injury? O'Shane Ximines might not have been as serious, but coming into next year, what do you expect out of these players? Do you expect them to return to form week 1 because it's been the whole offseason and most of this season that at least Lorenzo's been out? Or do you have limited expectations because of what happened this year?
Great question. I was never super high on O'Shane Ximines. I thought he could be a good player. I thought Giants fans were overhyping him a bit going into next year, if I'm being completely honest. Carter, I see it. I think Carter could be really good. I've always been high on Carter going into last year. I thought him and Leonard Williams were my two guys that I really thought were going to break out in the scheme. I thought that they fit it very well. And I think that Carter started to show you signs until he got hurt early in the season that he was really looking good in the scheme. I thought even though the sacks may have not been there, he was playing well. And I think that he was going to fit very well. It's tough, though, with an injury. You go back, you look with Conley. Everybody was excited for Conley when he was coming back from the injury. Obviously, the Giants saw that he lost a step. They let him go. We don't know what Carter's going to look like. We just don't. If Carter's 100%, I think Carter could be really good. I'm not saying Pro Bowl good, but I think he'd be a really nice player for the New York Giants.
A serviceable edge rusher.
Yeah, a guy that could do so many different things too. I think he's decent in coverage. He's even played up at the line of scrimmage at times. They move him all over. So I really like Carter if he's healthy, which you don't know, and you're not going to know before the draft. And as far as Zimenez goes, I think Zimenez could be a nice player, a nice rotational player, but I don't ever think he's going to be like a really good edge rusher. I just don't see it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like you, I had a lot of hope for Lorenzo Carter even the year we drafted him. He came out. We got him the second round, right?
Third round.
A third round, even better.
Yeah.
But he was such a touted prospect at the time that could be such a versatile piece. Which once again, going back to what the Giants always preach, right? Versatile, and it's kind of cliche to say, but that's kind of what the idea has been since Joe Judge took over. Was they want people who can do different things on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of hope for Lorenzo, and like you said, he was playing great, and he went down with that injury, and until the reports came out, I had no idea that it was that serious. I mean, he got carted off, right? Yeah. So I mean, but I expected him to come back at some point this year, and that didn't happen. Obviously, after we found out it was a torn Achilles, and we're getting a lot of pieces back next year, like O'Shane Zimenez, Lorenzo Carter. Heck, McKinney. Saquon Barkley, right? Yeah, and McKinney, I mean, although this was his rookie year, he played, 4 games maybe?
Yeah, and limited until, the last 2 weeks.
Right, and then in that last Dallas game, he pretty much sealed that game with that interception.
Yeah. He played great that last game.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll kind of head back into the life of Entertainah. Step away from the New York Giants for a little bit. So other than driving NASCAR and racing through the streets of Long Island when you were younger, did the Entertainah play any sports as a kid? Were you a football player? Were you a baseball player, basketball? Because I see you so involved in these teams that you watch. I guess I was wondering, did you play, and if so, what positions, what sports? Just kind of talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I played baseball was my best sport. I played baseball, I played basketball, and I played football. I played football up until about 14. I was really skinny as a kid. Baseball is by far my best sport. I don't know how big of a baseball fan you are, but I love
going to baseball games, but I just can't watch it on television. It's one of those sports for me, just like hockey. Love going to hockey games, can't get into it on TV.
Yeah, here's my thought process on baseball. Like, if you didn't grow up playing it a lot, you probably don't enjoy watching it. I enjoy watching it because of how much I played it.
Right.
I pitched against Prince Fielder when I was 12 or 13. Yeah,
that's cool.
The only reason I knew it was him is because his dad was there, Cecil Fielder, who played for the Yankees at the time. But yeah, no, I was a good baseball. That was definitely my best sport. I played outfield, pitched. Football, like I said, I only played till about 13 or 14. And basketball, yeah, I played junior varsity, not varsity in high school. Baseball is my best sport.
Okay, so baseball was your best sport. You said you were a pitcher and an outfielder. What age were you playing baseball until?
I played a couple of years after high school. Not college though. I could have played college, but I elected not to at junior college. I ended up playing in adult leagues, but nothing serious. So I'm pretty much through high school.
So what was your fastball looking like? What was some speeds that you were throwing here?
Mid to high 80s.
Okay. Does 35-year-old Tana feel like he could still throw mid to high 80s?
No, probably mid 70s maybe.
Still probably got me beat, but that's cool, man. That's cool. So you said you became a content creator because of something that happened in your life.
Yeah.
Give me another moment in your life that kind of made you the person you are today. It could be like like a good thing that led to an impact, a bad thing that led to an impact. Just kind of whenever someone hears this story, they're gonna think that's Tana's story right there. I know that one. You know what I mean? So other than just the funny stories, give me
Yeah.
something that actually impacted your life.
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, in terms of, I mean, I think it's a good outcome because of it. But when I was younger, my parents separated when I was probably like 11, 12,
Mhm.
and my dad. I've seen my dad. I want to say 2 times in the last 10 years. He just left. Like he lives in Mississippi or Louisiana, one of the two states. I think Mississippi. But I always said to myself, if I ever have kids because of that, I feel like I'd be a much better dad because of it. And
Yeah.
I think I have good relationships with kids because of that. I mean, obviously when you're on YouTube,
Right.
you get, but yeah, I guess that definitely that was probably a life altering event as growing up as a kid, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know if you got to listen to my first episode or not. It was just kind of me talking about my story a little bit, and in there I said people will probably learn a little bit more about me as the show goes on. So I guess I'll kind of talk to how I can resonate with that a little bit. So once again, I was like super young, a year old. My parents split up due to my dad being a bad alcoholic, and so it wasn't that he wasn't around, like the area, right? He didn't take off to down south or anything. But there was probably 3-4 times a year that I saw the man: Christmas, Easter, my birthday, and like Father's Day. And so at the age of 17, me and my wife got together. She's 4.5 years older than I am. We started dating though, but mostly because there was this kid in the picture. I took a step back to reflect, right? Not only because of what I realized I had to commit to being 17 and joining a relationship where there's already a child involved,
Oh,
but
she had a child.
yes, I won't go too much into it just because I put it out there in my first episode. But I knew my wife when I was super young. Her dad was a youth pastor at my church. Her parents were divorced. She moved to the Rochester area with her mom. Met a guy up there. She was probably in her late teens. He had a bit of a drug problem at the time, and she came back down to where I'm from, and he was gonna follow. He's gonna finish that semester of school and come down and follow because of the baby. They kind of wanted to get away from the party lifestyle. They wanted to like settle down as people, and he had some things that he had to work on, obviously. And she was 6 months pregnant, and he was supposed to get off the bus stop, and she was gonna pick him up to come down to the area and set up their life down there. He never showed up. So she goes up to Rochester because she couldn't get a hold of him. She's calling, texting, nothing. She walks into the house that he was living in at the time and found him dead on the bed at 6 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
And so I've kind of been involved in this kid's life since birth. We haven't been dating since that point. But just being good friends with her, I felt like this kid needed something good, right? And not to say that she wasn't providing that on her own. But so yeah, when we first got together, it was something I had to like step back and reflect and go, not only should I focus on this relationship, is it what I want, like with my wife now, but at 17, it's quite a responsibility to take on to be a dad that young, right? I was still a senior in high school at
You're
this
still
point.
a kid.
Right, yeah, I was still a senior in high school at this point. And I mean, obviously, ultimately, I decided that it's what I wanted. I love my wife. We have 2 more children together. We had another one in Arkansas when we were stationed there, and then yet again, our son was born in Arizona. So, but yeah, I guess I can kind of relate to that story a bit because my dad, I mean, he never like abused us or anything, but I didn't see him much growing up, So when I was
he didn't abuse me. But
when I was getting with my wife, like that was what was going through my head, right? Like I'm 17, I love her, love the kid. Is this what I want? And then using that like what happened to me as a kid as another idea to kind of fuel my decision at that time.
Yep. if I ever have kids, I know I'd be a much better dad because of the experience that I've been through. So
Well, I'll ask you, do you want kids? Is that something you want?
I do, but I don't want to force it either. It's not like
Right,
something
right.
that it's not something I need.
Yeah. But we'll say 3 years down the road, you leave Long Island, you set up your life, you meet this woman or whatever,
Yeah,
you decide
no,
she's the one. Like, you do want kids if that's how life unfolds.
In an ideal world, I would have had kids already. I'm 35. I was hoping to have kids. I don't know. You know, when I was dating my ex, I was a little over 30 when we broke up. I was planning on being married to her by 31, kids by 33. You can't plan life though. You learn that as you get older. So, but no, I mean, in like a perfect world, yes, I'd love to have kids, but same time, you gotta live life, man. You can't force things. You gotta enjoy life, and whatever happens. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I haven't really tried. I was dating a lot when I was living in Brooklyn, but since the pandemic, and I've been focused so much time on YouTube. That's something that I really want to focus on once things start to normalize, and maybe take a little time away from YouTube and start to do that. But then you also got to find people that are, you tell people, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. Are you okay with that? So, there's.
Well, I know Bobby Woodruff there was trying to set you up with Steffi Smalls a little while ago.
No, but I'm actually looking forward to it, man. That's something I'm really looking forward to.
Good. I mean, you gotta handle your own stuff. Like YouTube, it's great, but you gotta focus on you sometimes. You can't, and that's another reason I created this podcast. Like every person I've had on, I said, you content creators who cover specific topics. Yeah. It's easy to lose yourself sometimes, right? So I wanted to have not only a channel where viewers can come and listen to learn about the people that provide the content for them every day, but somewhere these content creators can come and just relax. There's nothing specific to talk about. We're going to sit here, have a conversation, and just talk about something other than what constantly goes through your mind, especially people
every day.
Right, yeah. Especially you YouTubers who are able to make somewhat of an income out of this and have it either as a full-time or a big portion of your income. You know what I mean? Like, it always has to be on your mind, even as like a self-employed, if you're not a YouTuber, self-employed anything, like the wheels are always turning. Like it's what you always think about. That's just how it is.
It's a business at the end of the day. But I love it though. It's so I love doing what I'm doing, and so I don't really look at it as a business. But you're right, you have to treat it that way. And when I first started, I would have never even dreamt. I was just doing it as almost as a joke. I was in a group text with my friends. That's another reason. And I remember talking about. Actually, I would say we'd be, it was like 6 of us. We'd be, me and like 3 or 4, 5 of my friends that are big football fans. And it was leading up into the draft that year in 2018 when we took Barkley. And I kept sending like funny videos, pretending that I was like, I don't remember, I was talking about Baker Mayfield and whatever. And they said, you're pretty funny. You said you should start a YouTube channel. Maybe it'll help, And I was like, you know what? I'm looking to get my mind off of my ex at the time.
Right.
I'm looking for a hobby. And when I first started, it was strictly for comedy. It wasn't it wasn't to be informative. It wasn't for any of that. I was just trying to go on there. I wasn't even expecting views. I was just going on there and showed my friends, check it out. I made a video, maybe some people check it out. And actually Sim Russell from Nothing But Knicks, I was doing some Knicks videos because when I first started, the draft was over with. It was like late May, and so I was doing Nick videos, and he had a pretty big following at the time, and I was getting like 200 views, whatever, and they were semi-informative, but at the same time I was like this over-the-top, like New York, like if you think my New York accent's crazy now, it was I played a character like Pizzle, kind of, right? But that's basically what I was doing. And he's like, I think you're hysterical, I think you're really good, come on the channel. So I went on, and people liked me. So I started putting out more Nick content. And it wasn't really until week 4 or 5 of the NFL season that year where I really started to be like, all right, I'm going to take this semi-serious.
Right.
And then I started taking more and more seriously. And then that off season before the Daniel Jones draft, leading up into the draft, I was putting out a lot of content. and people are like, oh, I like what you're doing. I like what you're doing. And I started to get more and more of a following. And then leading up into that next season, that's when I said, I'm going to go for this. And that's when I said, I'm going to try to do this full time and still, get a part-time job and try to do this full time. And I sacrificed. A lot of people may not know this about me. I moved back home. Because at the time when I first started, I wasn't making much. When I first decided I'm going to try to do this full time, I was making maybe $2,000, $2,500 a month, which is not enough. Without another job.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I'm going to sacrifice and see where this gets me. So I moved back home, and I put out a ton of content, and it started to grow. And now once this pandemic's over, I plan on buying a home or a condo or whatever. But I was planning on doing that before the pandemic hit. That was the plan as I started to see the YouTube channel grow. But yeah, man, I sacrificed a lot to get it to the point where it is, and hopefully it keeps growing.
Right. And something my mom always said to me growing up, and it might not seem like it's true all the time, because I'm sure there are days that you don't love recording videos. Like it can get exhausting, I'm sure. Especially when you do it as much as you do.
There's days.
I'm doing once a week, man, and so that's all I wanted to commit right now. Until maybe this does take off somewhere. We'll see. That's not my purpose in this channel. Like I said, my purpose is to sit down with content creators, talk with them, and just have a good time. But my mom always said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And there's days it might not seem true, but it definitely it is a true statement. If you overall love what you do, like in general, right? 99% of your time you spend doing it, you won't feel like it's work because you're enjoying yourself.
Let me ask you, what guy that likes sports wouldn't want to be able to sit in front of a camera and talk sports and make a living out of it? So, I am incredibly grateful for the amount of support that people give me. The amount of, the views and anybody that donates, anybody that's a member of the channel, I'm incredibly appreciative. I try to show it as much as I can. But the other thing I've always tried to do, I go on other people's channels, and I'm not going to say names, but I go on other people's channels in the sports community, and I'll see them jam that down people's throats. They'll be like, oh, they'll have like top donator, I never do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want people to think that, of course I'm appreciative when people donate, but I don't try to
like guilt people into feeling like they have to.
Guilt people or promote it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hold on one second. I'm sorry? Yeah, soon. Sorry about that.
No worries, man.
Sorry about that. But no, that's always been that's always been my mentality, is I want to feel like I earn what I'm making, I guess, on YouTube. I don't want to feel like I'm not, so I work hard, and I try to give out as much quality content as I can. Sometimes it's hard to do both. Like sometimes I feel like last year I was putting out insane content, like in terms of volume. Like I was putting out two videos a day, 3 videos. And this year I kind of scaled it back. I was like, I'd rather do higher quality in terms of waiting for more relevant topics, and kind of make longer videos. Instead of 4-minute, 5-minute videos, make 10-minute videos, combine 2 topics, make it more relevant. So even though I may not be getting as many subscribers out of it, it's more quality. So that's what I focused on this year, is less videos but longer videos, and higher quality in terms of my opinion and research, I guess.
Well, look, man, I'm guessing you probably got to go soon, based on what just happened.
I got a few more minutes.
So I think we're gonna do our. First off, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
You definitely didn't have to do this, especially with where your YouTube content is at, man. I greatly appreciate it. I've been a part of your community probably since right after the Daniel Jones draft is probably when I started finding your videos.
That's what some people tell me.
But I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our segment where I just kind of ask you some rapid fire questions. Just give me some quick answers. We'll run through them. and then we'll go ahead and we'll give you a minute to talk and we'll close it out. What do you think?
Sounds good, man.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Biggest fear, what is it? Go.
Oof. Oh wow. All right, this is gonna be dark, I guess.
Okay.
Dying alone.
Okay. Name a job that you'd be bad at.
Ooh. I would say I'm not the best in terms of organization.
Okay.
Sometimes my brain's all over the place and I have all these ideas and I can't put them together. So maybe like a secretary, I don't know, something that requires like very strong organizational skills. I'll say like an assistant or a secretary or something like that.
All right. Favorite board or card game?
Poker, Texas Hold'em.
Favorite beverage? Alcoholic and non-alcoholic. If alcohol is going to be beer, give me a type of beer.
Okay. It will be beer. And I'll say it depends on the time of year for me. You know, I love Peroni. I could almost drink that whenever. I love Guinness too, though. I'll go with Peroni, but I love Guinness.
And non-alcoholic?
I almost drink exclusively water, but if I'm drinking soda, I'll go with like root beer, A&W root beer.
Favorite type of cake?
Ooh. Can I count pie or just cake?
Whatever.
Okay. I'm going to give you one of each.
Yep.
Cake, I'll go cheesecake.
Okay.
But if we're including pies, I love pumpkin pie.
Okay.
I also love cherry pie, but I'll go pumpkin pie.
All right, give me this one. Besides your wallet and your phone, what's a must-have on your person at all times? Do you have any? Is it the baseball cap?
I was gonna say right now, not normally, but with the pandemic, being that I haven't gotten many haircuts, like my hair right now is insane in terms of the length. I'll go with the hat. Yeah.
All right. Favorite movie, any genre.
Lord of the Rings.
Dream vacation. If you go anywhere in the world tomorrow for a week, where are you going? Pandemic aside, obviously.
Yeah. What's that? You ever see that movie, Couples Retreat? It's not a very good movie, but the destination's amazing.
Is that the one with Vince Vaughn?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the name of the place. God.
Well, that place looks amazing. Whatever that place is.
All right.
That place looks amazing. But I've never been on a beach vacation.
Oh, wow.
I've been on so many. I've been to Italy. I've been to, I went on a European cruise. That's the coolest trip I ever went on. We stopped in Rome. We stopped in Turkey. We stopped in Malta. We stopped in Egypt. So the pyramids, Barcelona. So I've been all over Europe. I've been in a lot. I've probably been in at least 30 states in the United States. But I've never been on outside of my first girlfriend's family had a timeshare in South Florida where we'd go, which was nice. But I've never been to the Bahamas or anything like that. So I'd say something relaxing like that.
Okay.
I love Vegas though, but I've been there so many times. But I'll go, whatever that place is in that movie. That's
like a tropical island of some sort where there's yeah. Okay. How about a hidden talent of yours?
Hidden talent. It's a really good question. I have hidden things that are embarrassing that I can't do. I can't snap my fingers. I couldn't blow a bubble till I was about 22. So things like that, but I'm trying to think of a hidden talent. I think I'm a decent singer. I wouldn't say, I'm a pretty good, not like that I would make an album, but I could perform decent at karaoke night if you give me the right song.
All right. We'll transition that one into your favorite musical artist. Could be a band, could be a single person, just...
Yeah.
You could listen to one artist the rest of your life. Who you picking?
Ooh. I love so many. I mean, I'm a classic rock guy. Like, I love the Beatles. I love Rolling Stones. I love... Oh, man. I loved Lenny Kravitz growing up as a kid. I'll go with him.
Okay.
I'll go with him.
All right. Favorite subject in school?
Lunch. No, all kidding aside. I'll say math. I'm good at math.
All right, and then we'll end it off with this. Who's your celebrity crush?
Oh, that varies. I have so many. But what's the name of the girl in I'm bad with names. Quiet Place.
Oh God, that's I think that's his actual wife, John Krasinski, his actual wife. I don't know her name though.
She's my crush.
God.
But
Okay.
but I also have a crush on Emma Watson. I also have a crush on there's so many. I mean, Rosario Dawson has an awesome personality. I like her. There's so many. But yeah, that varies. But I have a few. But
I hear you, man.
I'll go with her. Emma.
If I could put Mila Kunis's face on Scarlett Johansson's body, that's my dream woman right there.
Ooh. I like both of those.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead. We'll give you a second to say what you want to say to kind of close it out, and then I'll go ahead and wrap it up here.
No, man, I was looking forward to doing this, because I may piggyback off this. I may do this on my channel every once in a while with other YouTubers, because I love the idea of getting people on the channel and getting to know them behind the scenes, not just necessarily sports. I may eventually do this as a podcast weekly, getting people that I feel like are interesting people on the channel in different walks of life. So I love this. I love having a conversation, especially you. You're a great supporter of my channel, and I always try to, whenever one of my subscribers starts something, I always try to support them the best I can. So yeah, you're very active in my community. So when I saw you were doing this, I was like, I'd love to come on there and do an episode with you. So I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I had a great time, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming again. If you decide to get that started, by no means am I a master at this. You're my third guest, but if you need any help or want a guest to come on and just chit chat, I'd definitely be down to come on your channel and run a chill podcast sometime. But again, I appreciate you joining me. It's been great. I had a great time talking with you, learning a little bit more about you, and definitely talking some Giants football.
Can't go wrong there. Hopefully I see you at a game. Hopefully I see you at a game soon.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, make sure to check out Tana. His stuff will be in the description. But until next time, peace.